Yes.
I want it. I'd like it to all one.
We're live now.
Thanks, John.
Is that a beer, is it?
What?
A gold?
Yeah.
Um, One minute. Less.
It's okay. Covers. It's just gonna run those things.
There, you can have mine.
What's grounds grace with covers, but the ones without covers?
So I think some of them are just like, it's just a hole in the ground and it bubbles out. And then the other ones have like the animal things on it.
I found it.
I just put without covers.
Yeah, that would be. my
Yeah.
We're lost.
Jeez. Oh, we are.
Just waiting to bed. Come back.
Sorry.
You're all. It's just everybody else at home can hear it. Just don't say anything. That's too nasty.
I don't think I'm good.
Probably would have been taken out of context.
I don't know. Yeah, it's the same to me. Love that one blink. Someone else feels strongly about this. If they're.
We just waiting on this.
Doing something with the camera. Okay, I'll call the April 3rd City Council meeting to order. Call the roll.
Abby Hansen. Here. John Hawkins.
Here.
Megan McFarland.
Here.
Matt McKinney.
Here.
Logan Wells.
Here.
Call for motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
So Megan and Abby. right?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi.
Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Petitions, communications and requests. This is the time of the meeting that a citizen may address the council on a matter not on the agenda. No more than 5 minutes per person, except in cases of emergency, the city council will not take any action at this meeting, but ask city staff to research the matter and have the matter placed on the agenda for a future meeting. Do we have anybody? Yes, thanks. Well, what's over there? I don't think there's a, there you go.
Not mine.
You look better now.
I just want to bring attention, is anybody familiar with this section 10-134? The requirement. Because I'm going to read it off to you guys. Required by the building official for enforcement of any provisions of this article, 2 sets of plans and specifications shall be submitted. The building official may require such plans and specifications to be prepared and designed by an engineer architect licensed by the state to practice as such. Plans and specifications when required shall be of sufficient detail and clarity to show proposed work will conform to the provisions of the division and of all applicable laws, ordinances, rules, regulations, and orders. The specific part that I'm asking for clarity on is the building official may require such plans We haven't really got an answer from the city. We got a partial answer. So I'm gonna read that answer to you via email, unless somebody here can clarify that for me.
Back up a minute, Brady, what are you talking about the construction job down?
I'm just talking about future construction for like builders, contractors, stuff like that.
You want clarification on an ordinance?
When it is gonna be required. Like
Okay.
what kind of threshold will be met? Is it square footage? Is it cost? Is it occupancy? Is it, height? There's no real answer to that.
And
So-
what's your email?
So an email from it would be community development director. Is Ariel. She said, as far as I can determine, the city has received engineered or architectural plans for all commercial buildings and for new residential buildings in recent memory. For future construction, the city of Webster City will require engineered or architectural plans to all new construction and any significant structural alterations. Small or accessory buildings may not be required depending on the use, occupancy, or other factors are considered. So where's the threshold of where that starts and where it doesn't start or where it ends? So like I'm doing an addition that's only 100 square feet, but I'm gonna remodel a whole part of the house. Am I required? Because they're saying that I might be required. So there's no real definition of when I am and when I'm not.
And you're wanting clarity on this just for personal.
Well, it's hidden costs. So I'm sure
Sure,
the
yeah.
customer say, okay, well, the city's gonna try to make you charge, have an engineer write this stuff up. It could cost you 30% more. Well, now that could be out of their budget. I just could rewrite the whole thing.
So yeah, it's like business planning and kind of knowing what the scope of.
Yep.
What, yeah.
So then I did reach out again and they said, we need to, anything for, if you're gonna do any kind of project, it's best to reach out to the city for pre-development. So that means, so now kind of, there's nothing really written in stone. So I've talked to Fort Dodge and Isle Falls and they have like a handbook or a matrix that they, within an hour I had an answer. So then you call and do it and now they want every part of the branch to be involved when it really shouldn't even be like that. So there's really no right or which way you're gonna go through a path to try to get to the bottom effect of what you're doing.
Sure.
So that's what I'm suggesting that we should probably get in motion or of some kind, a standard practice. So like today, we had another loophole with our project. And so it wasn't up to their qualifications of what they wanted, but we didn't receive any feedback. So I call in and say, well, that didn't count. So now we have to go back and redo something else. When there's really no, and then we emailed that in, no comment back. Wasn't okay, received. We'll let you know if we come up with any problems. So it's just loophole after loophole. So there's really no standard practice that we should have an effect like the surrounding neighbors.
Is there any way, I guess, just to make sure I'm clear on the question we're asking council, you want clarification on that ordinance?
Yes, of when an engineer or architect is required and or a hand matrix or handbook of limitations, I suppose.
Would you be willing to share what you found with Iowa Falls and Fort Dodge with our city staff?
Yes, I would have to get emails.
And to answer your question, I'd defer that to city administration and staff. I don't know. off the top of
I
my
did
head.
actually call them and all they could do for texting.
Okay. Again, I don't know if you have any clarification, Daniel, to give. I'm not familiar with that code. I don't use it every day, so.
Yeah, it would, like I said, we discussed this more case by case basis, depending on, are we talking about a simple shed or simple wall? Are we talking about structural footings where engineering plans weren't submitted or didn't include all the details? So we can follow up and get more specific. If we want to go into a matrix, that'd be something we'd consider and follow, but it'd probably be much more restricted than what we have now in order to conform with what the building codes we have in place.
And I actually did reach out to the third party that we have hired right now. Just kind of transitioning it out since we did get a new inspector. And they've said at the end of the day, it boils down to the discretion of the building official. So discrepancies, as we know, can vary from person to person. So that would be more in the line of the handbook or the matrix, because then it would be, if it deviates at all, then you could go back and forth and say, okay, well, this is what we need to do now because you hit this standard limit or this threshold that needs to be met. So now we're required. That's all I have.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you guys want a copy of what we're?
Yeah, that's sure. That's what's helpful. Thank you. You got enough for everybody, but we pass it. Thanks.
I'm the new owner of American Tap. Webster City. We are trying to put a ride together at the end of August, on August 26th. I have been talking to Carol about it, and she has seen this. I thought we would be on the meeting tonight, but we weren't. So we just wanted to kind of, we have, every year I do kind of a auction for the angel tree. This kind of chili supper and then that. But so we raised 4,500 last year. We'd kind of like to up that this year by having a ride. We'd have a ride. We'd all meet back here at 5. A meal, an auction to raise money for the angel tree, and then we want to have a band afterwards. So we mainly want to get this in front of you guys so that we can go forward with plans to see if this would be a problem or not to close Second Street down or even the back parking lot down.
We have a band that we have in mind, money, you know, that we put up, so it's like. We're kind of at a standstill until we know 100% for sure, but like last year, with the chili cook-off that Wendy in the bar did. Like she said, $4,500 was able to help 50 families. This year, we're helping maybe 100. So-
Wouldn't think there'd be any problem closing the street when we close it all the time for other. There's
Like similar things are like shows, you know, bigger things are like logistically.
so you just need to figure out whether you want the back or the front, I guess. If you think the back would be better.
Would prefer the front, but
Okay.
we're willing to work with the back if we can.
Yeah.
But
I can't see a problem with closing that. It's a Saturday night, so.
Yeah.
We could park trailers, you know, the side by sides park out there, the motorcycles would be able to. In the back.
Yeah.
And the side by sides in the back, because people use Main Street.
If you did, you got back working, then you shoot yourself in the foot for work.
Yeah.
and that's kind of what I mean.
One of
Have it run in the back.
Name it.
Yeah, it's just something I know Carol had been in touch with them and I don't know. She heard back in time for the cutoff,
Yeah,
so something we were gonna agendize for the next meeting. She follows up with them to confirm if it's Second Street or if it's gonna be the back. The only concern, or I think the question she posed about Second Street was whether or not there's no way to really close off just part of the street. It had to be the entire block from Superior or from Seneca to Wilson. And so that was where some of the back and forth Carol was having with them. We'll agendize it for the next meeting for council to discuss. If it's Second Street you ultimately want, then it'll be agendized. If it's the back parking lot, then it wouldn't be something that would come back to council necessarily. We'll double check on that though.
Okay, yeah, that was our main thing, is just to know if we can move forward, if it was gonna be a problem or not. So we can move forward, because we do have to put a deposit down on the band. And then we can start getting sponsors and stuff.
Yeah.
Know that we can.
Carol will touch base with you on the specific in terms of how your layout will be. Just to make sure fire trucks or emergency vehicles can have access to. And then what the road closure plan would be in that situation, so.
What are your names again?
Wendy Clemens.
and Mandy Jones.
Mandy Jones.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We just need it for them. Jones.
Thanks.
Anyone else? I don't think we have anything. So item 2, minutes, claims, reports and licenses. The following items have been deemed non-controversial or routine actions to be approved by the council in a single motion. If a council member or the member of the audience wishes to have an item removed from this list, it will be considered on its normal sequence on the agenda. I have A is minutes of March 20th and March 27th. B is a resolution on payroll for period ending March 25th and paid on March 31st. C is a resolution on bills and the fund list.
Move to approve collectively.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Okay, item 3 is a public hearing for the purpose of considering the maximum tax dollars for certain levies for the city of Webster City's proposed fiscal year for 2023-24 budget. I will open the hearing. Are there any written objections?
No written objections.
Any oral objections? I'll close the hearing. Dodie?
Good evening. So we need to do the annual max levy hearing. And it is to consider, certain levies that the state mandates. The chart up here shows what those levies are that the city uses. The highlighted yellow ones are those levies that I call like to go into the pool cash for all departments to use for operations. And improvements from the general fund, which, you know, is quite a few departments. This year, it will generate, $92,000 more than fiscal year 23, which calculates to a 2.51%. This is the lowest percent and dollar amount that we've asked for since this has taken place. This is the 4th year. So the levies that also were highlighted, as you can see, we're getting less money this year than we did last year due to the rollback, you know, changing the valuations, decreasing. And so the only reason that we have the increase is for the benefits and insurance. Those we can ask exactly, you know, the 100% that we need to cover those expenses. And then the other one that's left is the Midas, and that is a pass-through levy. And on that one, I keep the amount the same, and the levy, I mean, it fluctuates very little bit because of the low dollar amount. That's about all I have, unless you have questions.
Any questions? Call for resolution approving the maximum tax dollars for certain levies for the city's proposed fiscal year of 2023-24 budget.
Move to approve. Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
We have a public hearing on proposal to enter into a general purpose loan agreement. I'll open the hearing. Are there any written objections?
No written objections.
Are there any oral objections? I'll close the hearing. That's saying you talking about.
Yep, I'm talking on that one. So this was an item that we briefly talked about at the last meeting when we were setting the resolution for the max levy. And looking, reflecting back on the budget workshop, as well as some of the legislative changes that are impacting our general fund revenues. And seeing how the general fund is in a deficit, trying to figure out a best way to offset and still move forward and purchase some of the necessary equipment and vehicles that are required, particularly for our public safety departments. And so it's one way to offset in lieu of drawing down on our cash reserves in our general fund. So council requested to hear back some information. We followed up with our bond council on that matter. This was something that is done by other communities, including the city of Fort Dodge and Charles City, where they will exercise and utilize the debt service levy, authorize a certain amount to purchase those items that have been identified or that council wishes to move forward with for that given year. The levy for that amount is just for that fiscal year, and those items are purchased by executing a short-term loan agreement with a financial institution and then using the proceeds of the levy to pay that off. So we were under a deadline because even though the state had pushed back the date to authorize and complete the final budget by April 30th, the actual date for to finalize the debt service levy is April 15th. So we needed to move forward, which is why during last week's special council meeting with the county, you guys approved the motion to set the public hearing to move forward with this. We really just looked at the capital equipment items that were listed and presented during the budget workshop and identified specifically those for police, fire, and certain items under the street department that goes towards the maintenance of the roads and street improvements. Those are considered essential corporate purpose functions that the city can levy without a referendum or having to go through a vote, since those are essential services that we have to maintain regardless. So we estimated roughly the total items listed there we have over $1.4 million in needs within those departments that I identified that would fit this category for the levy. We're requesting about $285,000 to be used for those designated pieces of equipment. So you see what was eligible and what was recommended. After speaking with bond counsel, they recommended to get authorization up to $300,000 for the loan agreement, basing off of just what the market is doing for some of these items. So if we see items that come in higher, we at least have that authorization to be able to cover those funds. And certainly in approving this, you're not necessarily committing to those specific items. We would get quotes, and I start identifying where those quotes would come in and what can actually be afforded under that authorized amount. But the levy would be adjusted to cover and capture that amount next fiscal year, July through June. It's important, at least with this function, this mechanism, that levy is not going to, that specific amount to this is not going to be reoccurring every year. It's intended just to cover the cost of these specific items, just for that fiscal year period. However, this is a mechanism that the other cities that have utilized this, being in the same situation we are, where you're maxed out on your general levy dollars, and you don't have other resources coming in to offset that. So if council approves, there's another item down on the agenda where you have to decide one notice over another, depending on whether you move forward with this levy or not. The overall impact that we included in the memo, ballparking the additional $300,000. We included a table for what that would mean for taxable valuation for an assessed property or a property valued at $100,000. That's an increase of $62.93 estimated. So, and that would just increase depending on the valuation. Again, part of the reason why we're in this position is twofold. One is just the expenses that have exceeded our resources, our financial resources in the general fund, as well as some of the legislative changes that have curtailed and rolled back some of the valuations and reduced the overall taxes generated by the general levy and the emergency levy.
Any questions? Call for resolution taking additional action on proposal to enter into a general obligation loan agreement and providing for the levy of taxes to pay the same.
So moved.
Second. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Okay, item C is a public hearing on proposed specifications and proposed form of contract for advanced metering infrastructure project. I'll open the hearing. Are there any written objections?
No written objection.
Are there any oral objections? Close the hearing. I'll go over to you.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. The item before you is an item that was placed on the council goal list that was adopted back in May of last year. We went out for bid and requested quotes and proposals from advanced metering infrastructure vendors and contractors. We received 3. Of those 3, one of them did not provide enough response to what we requested, so that was eliminated. And it boiled down to 2 vendors that were very competitive in the services that they offered. So we did go through an interview process. We checked references for all of them. And we looked at their experience and the breadth of the services that they provide. So some of the things that we were looking for was the ability to remotely read both water and electric usage. Provide a customer portal where the customer can actually look at what their usage is. They can set their own alerts and they can kind of navigate and set parameters for themselves for their monthly usage so that they don't go over whatever their budgets are. And then another thing we were looking at is the ability to remove cutoff on some of those frequent flyers like your rentals, just so we can get that property shut down more efficiently. We don't have to roll out a truck. So part of this is also efficiency in the long term, as well as making sure that we have current and updated meters and software that our utility office can utilize as well when they're providing customer service to our residents. So overall, we had one vendor named Viola, and then we had another one named Municipal Supply. Both of them were very good vendors, so we were both the whole committee was confident that whoever we went with was gonna provide good service. Overall, we did feel that the references that came from the municipal supply were stronger. They had more experience with communities of our size. We felt like it would be a better fit for our community. And then in addition, their cost was about $1 million less. So we didn't feel that the other vendor was significantly better to the point where it was $1 million more that we should pay for this service. So the proposal before you, if you guys look at your packet, that proposal was included. One of the things I do want to note is that on the proposal for the electric meters, we did request a quote for just basic electric meters and then a quote for meters that are allowed to be remotely shut off from this. So if we were to go with the electric meters that are just basic meters, we would pay the $437,850. And if we went with the remote disconnect, which is what the line department utility office would prefer because it would just be easier to not have to go out of truck, that would be $561,000. So the grand total includes everything. We would end up deducting whatever meter we choose. So we would be requesting that we proceed with the remote shut off meters for the electric department. And then we also would like to add outage management so that the electric department can see where in the community they have the power outage and what homes are being affected. And then the other add-on is the customer portal. So that total you see, the $3.2 million will come down about $400,000 depending on which meter we go with. Do you guys have any questions on the meter types? Would you guys be okay for staff to proceed with the remote disconnect electric meters?
I think it's fine.
And then the annual fees are broken down in the table before you. So those would go up about 3% per year. That's pretty standard. We saw that in the other bid as well. And then I also have municipal supply here to kind of walk you through the product package that we'll be receiving and answer any questions you guys may have. So I'll go ahead and hand it over to Dan, who's the presentation.
Biddy.
All right, good evening. My name is Dan. Municipal Supply, just down in Des Moines. Municipal Supply, family-owned business, been in the waterworks industry for roughly about 50 years. Started by Marv Whitaker, and his son right now, Steve Whitaker, is our president. Started as just a small little company in Ankeny. I got a pretty good sized lot for everything that you need, from fire hydrants, pipe, valves, water meters, electric meters. So it's kind of just, you know, Webster City are our customers, and we've been calling on Adam and the guys on the Public Works for many years. So appreciate the opportunity to discuss this project. And we can kind of hop around. I'll kind of try to just kind of do an overview of what we're looking at, and then we want to dabble into looking at what another customer's information looks like as far as the software that you guys will be able to see. We can do that. But just kind of a high level, do I hit this? Okay.
Right. Oh, maybe not. There you go. Wrong button.
That.
Other arrow. There we go.
All right, so our system is called FlexNet, and it's brought to you by Census, which is a dial-in company. And the biggest thing that kind of differentiated us was we are a point to multi-point. So it is an FCC licensed RF spectrum. So one of the things that was in the request for proposal was not a cellular. So we are, and this project would be secured by the FCC license. And so that just gives you guys just some security and some flexibility. We'll install 2 base stations and antennas on your existing water towers. We've done a propagation study. We've done the one, looking at the one right there on Highway 20, and the other one over by Lions Club Park. Base stations, actually what they do is that they would just transfer the data into the FlexNet system software, which then interfaces with Webster City's existing Cassell utility bill. And so that information is displayed, and it is a two-way system. So this allows us for obviously just going out and getting the billing, but also then it also can give your customers a continuous consumption report that the people, the staff can get a report every day emailed to them if somebody has exceeded, hey, the person has used electric on a continuous basis or water has been consumed at that house, 100 gallons an hour for the last 24 hours. So that way you guys can be proactive. Right now, you guys have to wait every month, get your reading, and then go, oh boy, we have a high usage, then you can call the customer. Here within probably 24 hours, you're gonna let a customer know, not only just you guys are being good stewards of the commodity, but also letting your customers know and saving them lots of money. So this just, this is, everything communicates just to that one point. Down here is the whole kind of suite of everything that we have. With the main thing with this project is the water meters, our smart points, and then the electric meters. We also have gas meters, lighting control, smart gateways. Just kind of some other gadgets in the smart world that you can add on as you go. So Census has been around. BD was just talking about it's a proven system. Right now, there's over 1,400 utilities. These include water, electric, and gas, and then any combination of those three. So the system is proven. You're protected again, as I mentioned, by the FCC primary license spectrum. You'll have less infrastructure with those 2 base stations, and FlexNet just simply performs. We wouldn't be in business and be able to communicate to you guys, communities like you, if it doesn't work. The references would say ain't and move on and don't do that. As we talked about our references, a couple just quick ones. Alliant Energy, they have deployed probably almost over 500,000 electric meters and about 400,000 gas endpoints. A couple other local ones, Waterloo Waterworks, Waukee, and West Des Moines Waterworks. As I mentioned, we did a propagation study, kind of hard to see here, but everything in here is green. So what we did a couple years ago is we took all your meter information, sent them to an engineering firm, and they plot all of your electric and water meters, and then we give them the height and location of your water towers, and then they kind of cast out and go through all their different cluster maps and come up with the propagation study that tells you where your meters are going to be covered. Everything, like I mentioned, in here is green, and so that means that you are going to have excellent coverage. One good thing also about anytime we are with an electric customer with water, we do go with the 2 base stations. Not only does that give you the excellent coverage, but it also gives you redundancy. So the ratio might hit Highway 20, but doesn't affect this. All of your meters are probably going to be able to be still read without any delay. Not to get too technical here, but when we talk about head-end system, as far as where is that information going, it goes into what we call the regional network interface, the RNI. And this is kind of just the nuts and bolts. The information goes from the meter up into the tower, into the cloud, and is housed into the regional network interface. One of the key things about this system is everything is secure. Census has many certifications so that the data is protected. It's not just out there that anybody can go and grab it. So this is where the information is stored. And then it also, when you dig into the RNI and city, Webster City staff will have access to this, actually can tell you what the health of the network is. And also if there's any firmware or anything like that, it can be downloaded over the air and do any updates. And again, kind of eliminate somebody going out and physically doing that. Census has an eye on your system 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days. They'll monitor your system to make sure that everything is operating properly. I every day get maybe 3 or 4 emails of even if like the back on the on part of the equipment, if the door is left open, let's say someone just went and looked to see if the the lights were blinking, and if that door was left open, I'm getting an email that says cabinet door open. Or it may say cabinet door open, resolved. So these guys are looking and making sure that when you guys are ready to bill, everything is working, all the backlog is there, and all the readings are coming in. Census Analytics is the software that Webster City staff will be using 98% of the time. And when we get started, we are going to break everybody down into their different roles. Like Adam and some of their guys, and Ben and some of his people, they may not need access to the building. You know, they just want to see what their meters are doing, what their devices are doing. So this is very, the technology is very Apple. It looks just like all of our smartphones. And so it makes it very simple of, you know, when you look at the software, well, what's my next step? You just look at the icon and it pretty much gives it away. When you go to your report access, that's where we can set up the reports. If you want somebody to have a report emailed to them every day, when they come in, it opens it up and it's right there of whatever happened in your system throughout the night. So it's very, very user-friendly and just works very simple. Our report insight, reports can be set up. The meter insight gives you a snapshot of all your meters, water and electric. If you want to go dig into the device access, you can look at just one individual account, print off a graph. So your customer service, while it's already great, it's going to get even better. Right now, you kind of have to have the guys go out and maybe data log a meter or explain how the water or the electric and their consumption is calculated. Here, you're going to be able to, by a push of a button, show the last 30 days, show the last year, whatever you want, to show where their usage is. So software is great, and as BD was just talking about, starting on the electric side, the Stratus IQ is the single phase meter, and then on our 3-phase, we're going to look at the going with the Aclara. So highlights on your electric meters, just safety, the high temperature detection, quality of service, voltage accuracy, data analytics. There's going to be multiple channels of load profile. With us being FCC licensed, our spectrum is big, so a lot of data can come back, flow between the meter and the infrastructure without any delays. So your time of use, any of that stuff can be taken care of, and any of your add-ons. As we look as room to grow, if there's going to be load control or any of your updates that need to be over the air, all of that stuff can be done through the systems. On the water side, Webster City actually has 3 of these meters in right now. One of the things called out on the proposal was you wanted a brass meter, mechanical meter. So we're going to go with the SR2. You guys currently have quite a few probably SR meters that have been maybe in the ground since the 70s. So one thing with the meter change out, what this is going to do is you're going to see an increase in the consumption because you have something that is old and wore out, and water is probably slipping through there and not getting measured. Getting new stuff in there, your water loss, whatever that is right now, you probably are going to see a decrease in that. And then so that's what that's going to result in is you're going to see some. So on your residential side, we're going to be on the SR2, and then on your commercial side is the Omni. Again, you have multiple of these out here. The Omni comes in either a compound or a turbo and different lay lengths. So what we would do is work with the water department and find out. They kind of just give us a quantity of the meters that they have in the different sizes. We'll kind of fine tune that and say, what is this at this location? What is being used? Is it a commercial use? And water is either going to be on or off, and go with the turbo, a little less expensive. Is it a compound? This used to be a commercial building. Now it's turned into an apartment complex. Go with the compound so you get those little increments of water and catch those. And then the cool one that we're talking about is like on the electric, where you can remotely shut off the Ally meter up there in the right corner, has a built-in ball valve and has 3 states. It's either open, it's closed, or it has a reduced flow. And so that if there is payment that has been missed and you go through your process and something needs to be shut off, instead of rolling a truck, going to the curb stop, trying to find it in January with 8 inches of snow might be difficult. Just by a touch of the button at City Hall, you can turn that service off. Also, this has built-in temperature and pressure. So we could actually put these around the system as well and see your different pressure zones. And you might be able to see a leak faster, you know, or main break, and be able to deploy and kind of catch that before the water tower goes down. And then also with temperature, if you see something coming in on one section of town, you could send out an alert to your customers, especially with that customer portal, and say, run your tap, you know, just a trickle so that your line right now it's 33 degrees water coming in. Possible over the night, it could freeze. Some of your network devices, the smart point in the upper left is what's going to be connected or paired with your water meter to send out that signal. The M400 is the base station, that is that collector that's going to be at the water towers. So you're going to have an antenna, coax is going to come down, and then it's going to connect into your base station. And at that base station, we'll work with Adam and his group, 120 volts going into that, and then a backhaul, getting the data back into your system. We talked about the customer portal, and here's just a couple of snapshots. So everything's going to look exactly the same on the water and the electric. So the customer can come in here and pick up these tiles, and what do they want to see? So when they first open their up, so just like, you know, again on your guys' cell phones, what's the first thing? I want to see my ESPN, I want to see what the weather is, and I want to see the news. Here they want to see if they want to know their billing cycle usage during the billing cycle, what the data is, if there's any alerts, notifications. You guys could then send Second Street's closed for a band coming to the bar. You guys could put notifications and communicate back with your customers through the portal. On the details, it's just kind of, you know, hey, what kind of meter do I have? It gives you what the meter ID number is, things like that. But here, he was talking about electric alerts. One of the cool ones, I might have it on the water one, but they can set up, they're going to go on vacation. They want to be notified if there's any water being used during this time and this time. So it just gives not only protecting you guys with your commodity, but also the customer of, I know when I'm going to leave. I'm going to, you know, if something does happen, I'm going to get notified because I got these alarms and alerts set up. Everybody loves, right now, it is very difficult on the water side to, if somebody comes in with a high bill complaint of, I didn't use the water. And how are you going to prove that I didn't? Here, this is on the electric side, but on the water, it's going to do the same thing. It's going to show exactly when that water was used, how much and at what time. And then one of the cool things is that it's actually underlaid with the temperature, the actual temperature of that day. So like on the electric, it might be if it was real hot and they got a spike in their usage, they probably ran the heck out of the air conditioner. Same thing if the temperature plummets, the furnace has probably been running all night, and that's why their usage is up. Briefly here, the water dashboard, exactly the same thing. Pick your panels, however you'd like those. Information on your water meter, and then your water alerts. So again, there's that vacation one, daily usage. Hey, I don't want to exceed this over this time, and then your billing cycle. So if somebody's on a strict budget and knowing that, you know, I can't exceed my $50 water bill, I'd like to water the lawn. So just kind of give me an update of, hey, if I exceed this because I'm in that billing cycle, I want to know about it so that I can take action and either say, yeah, I'm going to pay the extra few dollars, or we're shutting it down. Exactly the same thing. So just kind of overview, improve current meter reading process, moving to a fixed base AMI automated meter reader interface. Your bills are going to go out exactly the same day. Right now, it might be, you know, the first is on a Saturday, and then it might be the first is the next month. It might be, you know, Johnny's sick, so he can't read the meters until the 7th. Here, we're going to be able to set your dates, and you're going to be able to push the button and get your readings. So it's going to not only help you guys function as the billing department, but also it's going to be a benefit to your customers that they're not going to have 1 month a 28-day bill, and the next one is going to be a 33-day bill. You know, especially if somebody is looking at, you know, even that $20 swing could be, you know, jeopardized to a family's budget. And then you're also going to have on request meter data. Your billing cycle will be the same every month. And also with having everything kind of coming into a central location, if there is any any outages or anything, you're gonna know where those are at and you're gonna be able to have a faster restoration. And then finally, Census FlexNet, we'll be your trusted partner as you deploy into a smart grid solution. Any questions, or do you want to see real quick what some of that software looks like?
Sure, yeah, you have a sample portal or something.
Yeah, so this would be what Webster City would see, but a lot of the screens are exactly the same as what the portal will look like.
You might have to.
Oh, there it is. I sit here.
Yep, you're good.
The reason I brought this is Waukese, and the only reason I brought this one up is they have gas. So you guys would have this little drop down, you'd have water, and then if you wanted to go see what your electric stuff looked like. And so these first panels are exactly what we just showed kind of on that slide. They're gonna be the same on the water or on the gas side, or on, in your case, the electric. So just a couple of cool things, your meter insight I talked about. So it shows right here, they've got 12,475 active meters. These little panels, this one is almost stale, meaning that they haven't seen a reading for 72 or for 36 hours. This one's stale, means it hasn't seen a reading for 72 hours. So this is something that on the electric and on the water side, first thing when they come in, they can kind of just see the health of the system. And so if they saw that there's a bunch of stales or non-reads, they can kind of know what their work orders are going to look like. And this stuff is updated. So last time this was updated was 1,700 hours today. But 5 o'clock. So about every 4 hours, this is automatically updated. And then just briefly, if we clicked on somebody's readings, so I'm thinking this is an apartment complex of some sort. But if you want to look at their hourly graph, you see this is all the usage in March, and here we're just in April. But if you go to March, click on that. You come down here to the volume, and you can just keep drilling. Here we want to see what happened on the 29th. And here's, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. Click on that, and you just, within that hour, there was 1,400 gallons that went through that. And this is I believe, a commercial, an apartment or a hotel of some sort.
Kids are having too long a shower.
Right. And then, as I mentioned, one of your reports, this is just an example of a continuous consumption report on the water side. Look over here, that customer that we were just looking at, he's got an average of 1,300 gallons an hour going through for the last 72 hours. You guys can't read that, but so you'll be able to send this back over to Excel, and then go over to your, per hours or your average, and then sort it, and then just start, contacting the people. Obviously, you're going to know, hey, these are our big users, and we know that the water's running. But if you come up here and go, this is Gladys on Superior Street, she's got a leak. We're going to give her a call, and then you can kind of start going after that. This is great, and it's one of those things that you guys will be able to give that information out. But being also with the customer portal, you now are giving the customer some of the liability and saying, this is your stuff. You need to look and take care of what you got going. So with that, that's kind of all I got, kind of just a quick view. If there's questions, you guys.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, so this is,
If
I know something like that.
So the request before you is, we don't have an agreement in place right now. Typically, an agreement would be coming before you, so that you can see what the terms and conditions are. But we did work with Zach to develop the standard. Cute. The reason it's not completely done is because we're still working through which meters and everything that we're gonna get. So we're requesting authorization for city manager to finalize that execution of the agreement in an amount not to exceed 3.4 million. It sounds like this agreement is gonna be about a little shy of 3 million under, so. If you guys are okay with that, we would then go back to the table, meet with Dan and the census team and FlexCent team and just kind of work through the details. Get it all in writing and then finalize. And then once that's all done, we'll go to our kickoff meeting and get everything ordered. And
Okay, three of us have been working on this for 10 years. haven't we? About 10 years doing it. I think first year we were on this, we were looking into this. Okay, call a resolution approving and confirming plans, specifications, proposed form of contract, and estimate of costs for construction of advanced metering infrastructure project and authorizing the city manager to finalize and execute service agreement.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Is there a figure?
Isn't it?
Is there a
No,
figure
there's not.
being? This
Not at this time, yeah. D is a motion setting time and place for public hearing on proposed 2023-2024 budget. For April 17 at 6:05 PM.
Sorry. Okay, so since you passed the pre-levy resolution, we're looking at publishing the public hearing notice with the levy rate of 19.69231. So I have quite a few documents in your packet related to the budget. The overall dollar amount for fiscal year 24 will generate little over 5 million in property taxes. Of that 5 million, 42.59% is the amount of the pooled cash for the general funds to use. So I mean, it sounds like a lot, but a lot of it's going for other benefits, debt, things of that nature. I also include in your packet a chart showing the estimated property tax bill that based on rollback valuation on what these different levies. It's in both of the pre-levy and in this one. I also have a chart showing all of the available levies. What their description of the levy, just mainly for for Megan and Abby, just kind of get you more familiar if you're not familiar with those levies. What the max is if we're maxed, and if not, what our rate is. So how we come up with our overall levy. And then I have several spreadsheets on our main funds, just showing you. Some of them are detailed, the detailed with expenses and revenue. And then I thought it was maybe easier if I just did a summary. So I also included this year a summary of all of those, like general, electric, road use, water, sewer funds, just to show that this is our beginning balance. If everything goes as we have expected, this will be your ending balance. So as far as like the specific funds, I'm going to turn that over to Daniel and let him talk to you about this.
Yeah, just like we've been talking about for the past year and talked a little bit when we're talking about the general obligation loan agreements and the debt service levy. We're seeing just a deficit in the general fund where our revenues are exceeding our expenses. And so we're entering the 23-24 fiscal year with about 2.2 million. And at the rate we're going with both the expenses that we have planned or needed, we're going to be definitely seeing a decrease in that by the next 3 to 4 years. Obviously, we can't run at a deficit. So over the next 2 or 3 years, we're going to have to, figure out a way how to balance the general fund. And that's going to be difficult just based off of what we just talked about. The property taxes are one of our main sources of revenue. And we are maxed out on the key levies that generate the most funds available for the property taxes. 2.2 the hard part that a lot of people struggle to understand is although you set the max levy, only a portion of that really goes towards general fund operations. So only 42.59% actually goes towards the key operations. And that only accounts for about 2.1 million. This does not include, and there is a separate sheet in there that we'll cover at the next meeting related to lost funds, which is another source of revenue that helps goes towards our capital improvement projects. But as you're all aware, there were several legislative bills that were introduced this year. The property tax one having the valuation impact that saw the decreases. There are a couple others that will have dramatic impacts if they're successful move forward. And so it's going to be a very difficult next 2 or 3 years as we work towards identifying the best way to balance the general fund. We have explored and we'll probably have at the next meeting for you some other options that the council has considered in the past meetings, such as the speed cameras that would aid and provide some additional revenues if we move forward with that. But outside of that, the general fund itself doesn't have a lot of wiggle room to generate additional revenues to provide and support the general fund services.
And we're just setting date and time, right?
Correct.
We gotta go over all this in detail on the 17th.
If you want to, or
I appreciate the debrief. You know, it gives the community a lot of time to think about stuff too and bring concerns to the hearings. But I move to approve the April 17th.
Second.
We got a customer. Hang on to go out and see him.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, that was for us.
it's a pizza delivery. Yeah. All right, so,
1 second.
I've already called it.
Did you get a second?
Okay, all those in favour, say aye.
Stu.
Then, that's it.
Okay.
And then, motion setting time and place for a public hearing for 2023-2024 capital improvement budget for 2023-24 through 2027-28 capital improvement plan for April 17 at 6:05 PM.
Move to approve. Second.
All those in favour, say aye. Gabby.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Is there going to be a storm that night? Isn't it the storm night? Okay. E is a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign and execute agreement with Schofield Engineering Incorporated to provide additional professional services needed for the 2023 Wilson Brewer Courthouse Structural Improvement Project.
Back in 2019, the council approved an agreement with Schlofeld Engineering to perform a rehabilitation structural improvement of the courthouse at the Wilson Brewer Park. Back in those times, the plans were developed, they were bid out, and then that was canceled because of the concerns associated with material supplies. Once COVID happened, things just kind of started changing. And since then, we haven't rebid the project, at least that I could find out. But that was canceled back on June 2021. So recently we have revisited the courthouse structural improvement project with Schlofeld Engineering. I was able to pull records and identify that agreement you executed back in 2019 was for an amount of $20,500. I had invoices pulled and identified that we had paid a total of $38,250 towards this project, and asked some questions to Schlofeld Engineering, and then I was informed that 2 of the invoices were not associated with the project. So once those were redacted, we have paid a total of $27,474.29 towards the project. So we've asked Schlofeld to just make sure that the invoices are clearly marked when they're delivered to us so that we can avoid further accounting errors on our part. But the item before you, there's 2 items. One of them is to approve an agreement with Schlofeld Engineering to complete and update the plans and specifications, as well as help us through the construction administration of the courthouse rehabilitation project. He's noted that it would take an additional $6,700 to get us there. And then also provided an updated construction estimate of $215,000, which is specifically for construction, so that does not include the engineering fees. And it does have a 5% contingency built into it. So we're requesting approval to approve that agreement. And then on the other side, we would need to set a hearing for the plans and specifications so that we can also bid this project out. And we're requesting that hearing be set to May 15th at 6:05 p.m. But currently, if you look at the amounts that are available through the enhanced fund, there is about $197,000. And then you also have an $8,000 hotel motel grant that has not been cashed out. So there's about shy of $205,000 left. If bids come in at exactly that $215,000, we're gonna be slightly under $17,000 for this project. So at that time, when we have the hearings, we can revisit where those monies would come from, if the council wishes to proceed with the project.
Well, the county's put up most of the money for it, isn't it? Isn't that the-
Just gonna say, I thought the county was paying for a lot of this. That they had put like, was it like 180,000 or something?
Yeah. Significant amount, so. I mean, I'm happy to get it going. I mean, otherwise we'll stall the whole project out, so. We've gone this far with it. It's yeah, what it is.
Yeah, the county since 2017 had provided total of 225,000 towards deposited into the enhanced Hamilton County Fund specific for the courthouse. That was done over 4 years, 2017, 2019, 2020, and 2022. Then obviously just the engineering costs that have been incurred, that's how we end up at what the remaining balance is available there. So.
So there's an additional 250,000?
No, that's what
Oh.
the county contributed originally a total of 225 since 2017. But the engineering costs was part of that expense. So
Yeah.
when the bids come back and if we're short of that, council will have to identify where you want to
Got it.
get the monies from.
Got it.
Yeah, I mean, this is part of the original plan, and I say we see it through. I mean, again, this is just, delayed because of, material issues, so I don't see the issue going forward. So if you're looking for a motion, to approve the agreement with Schlofeld, was that the first motion?
Yeah.
I moved to approve.
Second. All those in favour say aye. And F is a resolution providing for notice of hearing on proposed plan specifications, proposed form of contract and estimate of costs for construction of the 2023 Wilson Brewer Courthouse Structural Improvement Project for May 15th at 6:05 p.m.
And mine says 16. Is
Yes,
that-
that's correct. It was an error. It was an error.
Unless you want to meet on Tuesday.
I didn't look at the calendar. I was like, am I wrong or are you guys wrong?
We were wrong initially on that one.
I moved to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
G is a resolution authorising the mayor to sign and execute agreement number 17B with Snyder and Associates to provide additional professional services needed for Fair Meadow Drive project, authorising the use of bond proceeds to pay for the project.
The staff is going to request that we table this to the next meeting. We've been working with Snyder and Associates on the engineering plans for reconstructing Fair Meadow in front of Quick Star. Unfortunately, we have a few lingering easements, including Quick Star, that had not been finalized yet. We were on a call earlier with Quick Star, and although initially they were reluctant to provide an easement for the project to relocate a water main associated with that, they told us today that they're agreeable in the grand scheme of things to move forward. So obviously, this is gonna push the project back, but we've been engaging with Quickstar for the past 3 to 4 months. And so we're trying to clarify and get that easement so that the project can move forward. Without that, the water main won't be able to be relocated and honestly, probably would make it difficult to move forward with that project if it's not obtained. So for now, we'll just request that we table this to the next meeting, and hopefully by then we'll have the easement necessary from Quickstar to be able to move forward.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay.
H is a resolution accepting bid from Sandry Fire Supply LLC for a new breathing air compressor, 7 steel cylinders, rescue packs and components, and authorizing city manager to purchase said equipment in the amount of 70,500 for the Webster City Fire Department and make necessary budget amendments. Evening, Chuck.
Mayor, Council, I appreciate your time this evening. We came a while back and discussed the request to go for bid for this breathing air compressor and components and whatnot. We were approved at that, and at that time, we went out, we sent out 8 bids. We received 7 back. Of the 7, only 1 was actually a true bid with all of the equipment, all of the components. Due to inflationary, which I was very guaranteed at one time that the amount that I had was going to be more than enough. It's gone up $13,000. In discussions and in looking at things, I'm requesting that we could carry this amount that we have set aside for this year over to the next fiscal year, where we could then add to that amount, amend the amount, excuse me, for 13,000 more to allow for the purchase of all of the equipment at that time. Due to issues with getting equipment, they were pretty certain that it was going to be after July anyways, before we'd be able to get this equipment in-house. So we're requesting a carryover and an amendment to the amount.
And to move forward with purchasing them.
And to move forward with purchasing.
Anyone have any questions for Chuck? Thanks, Jim.
Sounds smart. I mean, that's how we gotta make it happen.
What it is. Okay, call for a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Item I is discussion on the Webster City cleanup drop-off event. Possible dates is the June 9th and 10th.
We had it's coming up. We're approaching April, and usually we do end of May or early June for the community cleanup. Carol reached out to the school district, and sounds like June 9th and 10th are possible dates that would work for them. So if councils are agreeable to that, we can make that work. I know last year it seemed a lot slower than in prior years. That Saturday there was some moments where I don't think we had any cars coming through, and so.
It was raining. Is that,
It was.
does that mean like this?
Yeah.
No, we asked them because we set up on.
It's always an exciting time.
Yeah.
That's one way to put it.
That's real exciting.
Well, it works fine. I guess we'll set it for that.
It should be fine.
Okay, Zach, what have you got for us?
Not excited.
No. Well, you can come on down. It's an exciting day for us.
Thank you. The traffic camera master. So hopefully the next step will be you guys will be approving it. Get the grant fund or the agreement with daycare on that one, so that you guys approve that one already, and then as David shared on the Barrel Meadow Drive, we've been working with various law firms, et cetera, on trying to get these easements solved. For not only but also the new owners of the Kmart building, McDonald's, et cetera. So hopefully those all get signed in the next 2 weeks, and we can keep it in that project too.
Okay,
Pretty exciting.
so meet in closed session to discuss information relevant to the provision of electric service by the city utility as per code Iowa chapters 21.5A, 22.7 3 and 6 and 388.9 pertaining to confidential and competitive information and records.
Move to go into closed session.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll have a 5-minute recess. Thanks, Cameron. Did you need anything signed or anything done for yours? You had a long night. You picked a bad night. Everyone else had an easy one.
Just have you sign it somewhere, just on.
You guys have a selfie.
I can take a selfie too. I'll take one, I'll go.